What is going on, guys? What is going on, 27 squad? Welcome back into another video, and today we are doing the offensive line positional preview for the 2020 New York Giants. Now, I initially made this video and I was beginning the editing process, but then that was the whole debacle with Nate Solder, and I was forced to just scrap it and start all over again. So it would have been out to you guys a lot sooner. And by the way, this concludes the offensive side. If you guys want to see the rest of the positional previews, make sure you guys click the link up above. It's going to take you to the playlist for all the positional previews so far. We're going to be moving on to the defense now before the season starts. Now remember, in this video, I'm going to give you guys my projected depth chart too. So it's kind of like a preview for and a prediction for the depth chart that's going to be formed for the 53-man roster. So that being said, let's get started. Now, we're going to start off with the starting offensive lineman, and then we'll move our way down to the depth players. As you guys know, Nate Solder has opted out for the 2020 NFL season due to personal concerns. So now the Giants have to have that next man up mentality and move on without Nate Solder. Now, the projected starter to fill in Nate Solder's place is going to be Andrew Thomas. Now, I wanted to wait to mention Andrew Thomas, but I usually start from left to right and then I go to depth when it comes to these videos. So Andrew Thomas, I would have preferred him to be on the right side, and you guys can check out my article that I have. It's in the description below. I wrote an article on what I think the Giants' plan for Andrew Thomas was and how I think Nate Solder really affected that. Not that it's a bad thing, but how it affected the Giants' plans for Andrew Thomas in the future. But I go into how Andrew Thomas was meant to be a right tackle for 1 year, to develop, to wait for Matt Peart as well, who will eventually start at left and right together at some point. But now this turns things all around. Andrew Thomas is starting at left tackle, and I'm okay with that. But there's going to be a problem. I made a whole video about it. You guys can check it up. I'll leave that card up above as well. But you guys can see, know that, Andrew Thomas is going to have only about a maximum of 14 padded practices to really get NFL ready. I know he played in the SEC. I know he played some tough competition. I know he's dominated edge rushers in the past like K'Lavon Chaisson, Julian Akwara, Josh Allen, just to name a few. But there's going to be some struggles. Do not surprise if he gets off to a really slow start to his rookie campaign for the Giants. Now, Andrew Thomas, all in all, I think he's going to be okay, but I don't think he is going to be as great as a lot of people thought he was going to be before this coronavirus and before the pandemic started. If everything was completely normal, I would have the utmost confidence in Andrew Thomas starting at left tackle. But this really is going to be a huge test for of adversity for Andrew Thomas at the left side and protecting Daniel Jones's blind side. 14 padded practices, no OTAs, no rookie mini camps, and 0 preseason games. I already mentioned in my other video what kind of pass rushers we're facing all season, and even the first 8 weeks of the season is brutal. The pass rushers that we are facing the best of the best. So he has to be on his A game. Next up, we move on to Will Hernandez. Now, Will Hernandez only let up about 2 sacks last year. He got a lot better. He's developing, and he's one of the rising stars on this New York Giants roster. He's phenomenal in the running game and getting better in the passing game. I have the utmost confidence in Will Hernandez, and I think Andrew Thomas and Will Hernandez, them being very fast learners and very skilled at what they do, I believe they'll develop a chemistry very quickly. I love Will Hernandez at that left guard spot, and hopefully he continues to succeed there. We then move on to the center position. That is a huge mystery right now, but my projected starter right now at the center position is Spencer Pulley. I don't want it to be that case. I want it to be Shane Lemieux, but due to no preseason games, due to no rookie mini camps, it's going to be very hard for Shane Lemieux to prove himself that he can be the starting center for the Giants. He has to show the coaches that he's able to start before they're going to place him there, and without any sort of action, without any sort of football happening, that's going to be very hard to do. So I project Spencer Pulley to be the starting center for the Giants. I don't think he's very good at all. I know the Giants extended him 2 years ago, and a lot of people thought that maybe he's the real deal. No, he's not. All right, that's why they drafted Shane Lemieux. They feel like he could be the guy there. A lot of people are going to throw in Nick Gates as well, but we're getting to Nick Gates and Shane Lemieux when we talk about the depth players. But Spencer Pulley right now is the projected starter. Not very happy about that, but let's move on. Next, we have Kevin Zeitler at right guard. Listen, I never thought we would, in a million years, we would grab up Kevin Zeitler, hitting free agency in Cincinnati. I believe that was the same year, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I believe that was the same year that Andrew Norwell was also hitting free agency, and I was very bummed out we lost out on Andrew Norwell, who was going from Carolina and moved to Jacksonville for like $16 million a year. Then I was happy, like, okay, fine, we didn't have to pay that much for Andrew Norwell. But Kevin Zeitler is one of the best guards in the NFL, very underappreciated, never made a Pro Bowl, but I'll tell you right now, man, this guy was the highlight of the offensive line last year. He was phenomenal. He was great. Run blocking, pass blocking, he was there. I'm very happy we have a veteran presence like Kevin Zeitler in the midst of all these inexperienced young players that need to develop. He is the lone mentor on the team as far as the offensive line goes. Next, we move on to the projected starter at right tackle, and I have that being Cameron Fleming. And now, I kind of like the signing a lot more and more, and the more I think about it, being that the Giants were kind of ready for the situation should it happen. Cameron Fleming coming in, he was a free agent from Dallas and also had some experience with the New England Patriots, had started some games. He's not great, he's not phenomenal, but he can get the job done in relief of another tackle or being kind of a bridge tackle. And it would be a really good swing tackle. So I'm hoping Matt Peart develops in time, but as of right now, Cameron Fleming is the right tackle, but I don't expect Cameron Fleming to start the full 16 games. I believe there's going to be some shuffling going on later on in the season. Let's start off with our first depth player, and that being Matt Peart, the tackle out of UConn. Now, this guy started at left tackle at UConn, then moved to right tackle, which is kind of weird. Don't really know what the reasoning of that was. I tried to look up why that was, but I couldn't find it anywhere. Maybe that'll be a question that is going to be asked of Matt Peart in the future. But he's a right tackle that needs development. I am of the belief that he can start sometime this season, not exactly day one. Everybody knows me to be a huge fan of Matt Peart, but even before the Giants drafted him, I was a huge fan of Matt Peart, and I'm extremely excited that we brought him in. He does need development, but I think he can be one of the best tackles to come out of this draft, no doubt, of the 2020 season if he is fully developed. Now, he needs about half a year to 1 year to really develop. I believe he's going to be the right tackle of the future. Time will tell to see if he's ready or not. But, like I said before with the past players, the lack of preseason games, 0 preseason games and OTAs and mini camps and shortened training camp is just not a good a good start for any type of rookie going into the NFL, let alone a guy that needs to develop. Next up, let's move on to Shane Lemieux, our 5th round draft pick out of Oregon, coming in and going to be competing for the center spot. I'm extremely excited for Shane Lemieux, even a little bit more so than Matt Peart, because I believe Matt Peart does need some work, and you really need to be developed if you're ready to play the left tackle spot or right tackle spot. But when it comes to Shane Lemieux starting for center, I know center is a very hard position to play because you got to learn all the reads, you got to call out different protections, things like that, which I get that, but I believe center is a little bit easier to play just because you don't always have a guy on you 24/7. There's not many nose tackles left in the NFL. There's a lot of pass rushing defensive tackles that work on the guard more so than the center. So you got a lot of 3-tech guys, and the center's going to be helping out more than one-on-one with the player. So I think Shane Lemieux can eventually get that starting role at center. If not, he's going to be a good depth piece at guard. He's just a little undersized to be a guard, has shorter arms as well. He's not going to get that hit on the pass rushers, that initial hit on the pass rushers to the shoulder pads, because he's not, his arms aren't very long. I have high hopes for Shane Lemieux as far as the center position goes. I think it's a huge possibility that Shane Lemieux starts day one. I'm just not going to set it in stone yet. I think the more realistic pick is Spencer Pulley, but keep in mind, if we had preseason games and everything was normal, I think Shane Lemieux is definitely winning that job at center. He's a phenomenal run blocker, absolute mauler. You will never see a 5th round draft pick just destroy guys in the run game like Shane Lemieux did in college. So I'm hoping he translates that into the NFL. Next up, we have the man, right? The man, Nick Gates. Everybody loves Nick Gates. Let's get into Nick Gates, okay? Nick Gates is going to be a swing tackle for us. He just got re-signed a maximum of $10.3 million over the span of 2 years. That's with incentives and bonuses involved. He's getting paid decent money to be a swing tackle. So I think the Giants kind of structured his contract in a way that, hey, you might be a starter. Who knows what happens in the future? But Nick Gates, listen, I get his value. I get why he was re-signed. Would I have re-signed him? No, I would have waited till what the season plays out and see what happens from there, and I wouldn't have signed him for that kind of money. But the Giants probably know something that we do not, as far as the offensive line goes. So I get he is valuable, and I'm not comparing him to David Deal. I got a lot of people chewing me up in the comments for that. I'm not comparing him to David Deal. I said they possess the same skill set together. David Deal was all over the offensive line, and that's what Nick Gates plans to do, and that's what he has done. I'm not saying that his value is the same way. So people think that I'm on the Nick Gates bandwagon because I said something about David Deal in reference to Nick Gates. I'm not comparing them in any sort of way. I'm saying that they have the same skill set. So don't get me mad now. All right, I don't like Nick Gates. If Nick Gates is watching this, I'm sorry. I'm probably your biggest hater. I still have to do that film review on Nick Gates to show you guys what's up with him, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I think he's an excellent swing tackle. I think he's going to be a very good role player for the team. Should one of these guys go down, I'm not really going to fear too much if Nick Gates is finishing the rest of the game. I'm not going to fear that much, but if he's starting 3, 4, 5 games, then I'm going to be a little bit worried. Next up, Kyle Murphy, undrafted free agent. I can't remember what college he is from, but I know from watching him on film, he looked like I can't remember. It's on the tip of my tongue what college he's coming from. But watching him on film, he looked more of a guard than a tackle. The Giants are listing him as a tackle. He played tackle in college, but I see him more as a guard. He really can't handle the speed rush. Really bad footwork. I think he's more suited for the guard position. He looks strong, but is not athletic enough. Then there's Chad Slade. He's been on the roster for a while. This is a guy that also jumps around, if I'm not mistaken, from tackle to guard. So he's another guy like Nick Gates, probably not as good as Nick Gates, but he's another guy very versatile that the Giants would probably want to keep around. Next up, we have Eric Smith, the tackle from the New York Jets. Now, this is a guy that everybody's saying is pretty much a dark horse. We'll see if he provides any sort of, depth. It's hard, like I said, I keep saying this, but it's the truth. No preseason games. It's going to be very hard for any of these guys to prove that they deserve to be on the roster. At the end of the day, somebody has to make the roster, but he has limited experience. We'll see what happens, but I don't really have high hopes for Eric Smith. And last but not least, we have Tyler Haycraft out of Louisville. This is the right tackle for Louisville on the opposite side of Mekhi Becton. Now, Tyler Haycraft, I don't like Mekhi Becton. I'm not a huge fan of Mekhi Becton, but Tyler Haycraft was even worse. So, don't have any hope for him. If he proves something, then he proves something. It is what it is. But that is the offensive line preview, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Who do you guys think is going to make this roster? By the way, I'm really ashamed of Nate Wozniak that he retired actually 2 days ago. Very, very sad about that. He was a tight end, offensive lineman, 6'10" prospect, and this is a guy that I was like, man, what if the Giants could use him as like a eligible receiver downfield type of thing, and as a tight end wing player or whatever. But that being said, guys, that's the positional preview for the offensive line for the 2020 New York Giants. That concludes the offense. Let's get on to the defense. I'll see you guys in the next video.